And welcome to another edition of Ducks Knows Sports. This week is my fifth installment of my NFL previews, as today I tackle the AFC South. Should be interesting, with a lot of teams had down years last year and a lot of teams have bounced back years this year. But we'll start with the bottom. Of course, last year was the Houston Texans. Of course, Houston Texans last year went from being a Super Bowl contender to picking first in the draft. So to say last year's Houston Texans was a disappointment, probably an understatement, but you saw a lot of holes maybe that we didn't think was there before the season started. You know, it showed that their offense maybe wasn't as good. Matt Shaw just couldn't get the job done. Now he's out of town. And they're bringing a new quarterback in, Ryan Fitzpatrick. I'm not the hugest Ryan Fitzpatrick fan in the world, but, you know, he'll get the job done. You know, he's a good... he's average. We'll say he's an average quarterback in the league. You know, he'll hand the ball off. That's how the Houston Texans have to play this year on offense. They have to hand the ball off a lot. Hand the ball off and then just throw to Andre Johnson. That's how the offense should run this year in Houston. But when you talk about Houston's strengths, it has to be their defense. Of course, J.J. Watt, maybe the best pass rusher in the league going today. But they also, in the first pick, they took a guy named Clowney out of South Carolina. And I'm a big fan of Clowney. I really liked him in college. Just a beast. But the biggest question for Houston this year, can Clowney, their first pick, really adapt to the NFL? Because it doesn't really happen that much. You know, you have a stud, and a stud in college doesn't always translate well. There's already questions about his work ethic. You know, does he really want to be there week in, week out? Let's face it, he was a stud in college, but there were many games where he just took off. Many plays he just sat out just because he didn't want to get hurt. That's not going to roll in the NFL. But I believe you have one side Clowney, the other side J.J. Watt. There is nobody, and I mean nobody in the league I would want to play on defense. That might be the more fearsome defense in the league. You know, you still got a good back end on the defense, and this team's strength will be their defense. If the Houston Texans be successful this year, they'll have to rely heavily on their defense, and they will have to run the football, and Ryan Fitzpatrick will just have to make enough plays to get the job done week in, week out. And I truly believe the Houston Texans can bounce back. Are they a Super Bowl contender? I don't think so. Can they make the playoffs? Iffy. I think iffy, but I think the Houston Texans will win more than like 2 games this year. And I'll be the Houston Texans will, you know, they'll get in the 6-7 range. They'll be improved, but it's still a long process for the Houston Texans to get back to being the Super Bowl contender they were just 1 year ago. All right, moving on to the Jacksonville Jaguars, of course, in the draft, taking Blake Bortles. Interesting pick in Blake Bortles. You know, that's who I would have taken that spot. I would take Manziel, because I think Manziel is more ready for the NFL. Blake Bortles, in my opinion, will need to sit out at least a good half to 3/4 of the season. Just get ready, because, you know, he didn't come from that pro-style offense. So everything is new to this kid, and I just think if you throw him out there, it's exactly what you did with Blaine Gabbert. You know, you just throw him out there, and the kid just wasn't ready and got flustered. I feel the same thing could happen to this kid, and you got to learn from your mistakes. And hopefully the Jacksonville Jaguars have learned from their mistakes, and they don't throw this kid out in the fire right away, because if they do, they will be they'll ruin another quarterback, another guy who could be good. But Blake Bortles is a good quarterback in college, but not coming from a pro-style offense, so we'll see how that adapts. But like the Houston Texans, the Jacksonville's strength has been their defense. Well, it's hard to say the Jags really have a strength, but if they had one strength, it would be their defense. You know, an all-right defense, you know, pretty good. If you take all the crap on the Jacksonville Jaguars the last couple of years, their defense has been solid. And let's face it, the Jacksonville Jaguars eventually have to turn that corner and become a good team. They just draft too many good players year in and year out, but it has to be a culture change in Jacksonville. You know, it's going to take a few drafts, to get that culture in there. But I really believe in Jacksonville. Eventually, maybe I'm crazy, but I think eventually the Jacksonville Jaguars will turn that corner, and it could start, you know, because their defense is solid. If they can run the football, I think they will have a chance. And Jacksonville Jaguars, not saying they're a playoff team like the Houston. I'm not saying they're going to be a playoff team next year, but I think they'll be improved. The Eagles should win about 4 games a year. I think they can win a little more. Maybe get like Houston, maybe get in that 6-win range. And you know what? Baby steps, step by step, the Jacksonville Jaguars get better year in and year out. And maybe, just maybe, they might shock some people and maybe get up to 6 or 7 wins. So the Jacksonville Jaguars looking up in 2014. All right, moving to our next team, the Tennessee Titans. Interesting team in Tennessee because it's hard to say this team really has identity. I mean, you think of Tennessee, what do you really think of? I think of Jake Walker. That's what I think of. A very good quarterback and a dual threat, as they say. You know, he can beat you with his legs and his arm. But let's face it, he just has never seemed to take in the reins with the Tennessee Titans. He's never really locked down that job. He's never really seemed to become that quarterback that maybe a few people thought. But in my opinion, he is a good quarterback. Is he an elite quarterback? No. But can he be a Russell Wilson? Of course he can be a Russell Wilson type. And I believe, step by step, Jake Locker is turning into a better quarterback year in, year out. And I believe the Tennessee Titans, if they're going to be successful this year, it's going to be on that kid's shoulders. And he's really got to take the reins for this team to be successful. And I think in 2014, if Jake Locker improves his game, the Tennessee Titans might be a dark horse to make the AFC playoffs. And finally, our last team, the Indy Colts. Here's a team. I really believe in the Colts. I really like Andrew Luck. I mean, ever since they brought in Andrew Luck, this team has been great. I really believe in the Colts this year because of Andrew Luck. And, you know, they got it all. They got the defense, they got the playmakers, and they got the quarterback. Well, that's who got top of the Colts. Can the Colts win the Super Bowl? I think they can. I really believe in the Colts this year. I really believe they can compete with the Denvers and the Patriots and all those teams up in the AFC this year. I really love the Colts. Andrew Luck is slowly turning into an elite quarterback, if he's not already. Slowly turning elite quarterback. You got an underrated defense, and you got the playmakers. You got it all in Indy right now. And I really like the Colts going this year, and I really believe they could be in the Super Bowl this year. All right, so how does it break down this year? I think at the bottom, I think Jacksonville, unfortunately, will fall down at the bottom again. I think they might take baby steps, but I think Jacksonville finishes 4th. 3rd, I'm going to go with the Houston Texans. Like Jacksonville, they'll take baby steps to get back, but Houston will finish 3rd. 2nd will be Tennessee. And 1st, it's their division now, the Colts. Well, that's it for this edition, but next edition, I will be tackling the NFC South. Oh, one of the best divisions in all of the NFL. Of course, we'll be talking Atlanta Falcons, Carolina Panthers, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the New Orleans Saints. So, it should be a good one. But till then, I'm Ducks, and I know sports.